In this video, I'm going to give you 5 top tips to take your songwriting to the next level. Now, this is a part 2 video, so if you haven't seen the first one, please click here now, go watch it, come back, or stick around with this one and go over there after. And the landslide brought it down. The best way to get better at songwriting, which I've said many times, is to actually put time into it. Don't just sit back and say, oh, I'm going to give it time, but actually say, no, I'm going to put my time into this. Can I sail through the changes? This doesn't just apply to songwriting, obviously. This applies to any kind of musical thing you might want to do, like learning an instrument. But the power of some dedicated time over just a few months can really transform your ability, your workflow, and can lead to some really good breakthroughs. Now, I'm not here to teach you how to suck eggs. My OnlyFans is in the link below for that. But here are 5 tips that might help you. Tip number 1. Don't diss the capo, or capo, I'll let you argue about that. If you play the guitar, then this little amazing device can open up way more possibilities of writing. It helps you change the key of what you're playing, but allows you to keep the same chord shapes that you would have used if it was in standard tuning. You can take your guitar, you can take your capo, whack it on somewhere, I'll do, and then strum away on the same chords. C major, or a moody E minor. And then you can slide it around wherever you want. So if you was to play C major here, but you wanted to stick it up here, put your capo there, now that's D major. It's the same chord as D major. There. Really useful little device. And a capo is not cheating. Some people behave like it's cheating or something to stick it on and not have to learn all the bar chords, but those people can just... It's just a tool you can use to help maximize efficiency, and it can help you just try lots of songs in different keys really quickly to find which one suits your voice better. If your goal is to really master guitar, then maybe try and practice without a capo as well. But if you're like me and songwriting is your main focus, just do whatever aids the process. Obviously, if you play piano, then it's a bit different, but if you have an electric or a keyboard, a lot of them come with transposed keys, so you can move the key center up and down. So if your piano knowledge is very limited, that shouldn't stop you writing. You can cycle up and down the transposed keys until you find a key that really works for your song and your voice. And that's a great way for beginners to get started when they don't know every single chord there is. And then once you've got a progression down and you're liking how it sounds, then I would advise going back and learning which chords would be played if you were in standard tuning. Eventually you'll improve and learn more chord shapes, but if it's discouraging you from starting, just crack right on with this method. Tip number 2, get it sounding songy before worrying about the details. One of the biggest buzzkills that slows people down with their writing is worrying too much about the little details. Your song will not be perfect unless you're so certain that what you're working on is the next breakthrough in music history. Just don't agonize over it. It's rare that if you are quite an inexperienced writer that you'll just suddenly write an absolute masterpiece. What's more common is you'll slowly improve over a few years, and the quality of your writing will gradually improve with it. So work on a song, get to the point that you're happy enough with it, and then move on. Don't forever keep going back trying to change and improve it. Just stick it on the shelf, smile, and on to the next. With this approach done over a couple of years or so, you might get to the stage where you can write pretty good songs in 20 minutes. And I believe it's more valuable to spend lots of time doing lots of songs than lots of time trying to stress over one song. Tip number 3. Tell a story with your music. It doesn't have to be literal, but a story. So people that are quite good at English and like creative writing will certainly find this part easier than people that struggle with that. But the good thing about writing stories for songs compared to writing like scripts or books is you can focus a lot more on like the emotional feel of the words as opposed to like the logistics of making the story work. You don't have to be as precise when writing in this context. If you have a great idea for a film and you try and write a film, it could be the best idea imaginable, but eventually you'll come up with holes in your story that you just need to try and problem solve until you can find answers to. It doesn't matter how good the story is, it will have holes in it. But this problem is far less problematic than it is in like script writing, because you can just leave stuff out of songwriting. It's a very small window of story for you to uncover. Songwriting exists as a strange medium when you can tell easy to follow stories, like a story about a man having a violin battle with the devil. Or you can tell a much more emotionally driven story, like one encouraging hope for African Americans during the civil rights movement. One consists of a simple to follow narrative. Oh, hello. We have a dog. One tells a very easy to follow narrative, whereas the other one is more about encouragement. They're both very different songs, not just in what they're about, but just in the way they're delivered. But they both have one thing in common: they're really good songs. So when you're writing, make sure there's at least one theme that the audience can extract from your song. But it doesn't have to be exactly what it says on the tin. I'm quite happy for people to not understand all of my songs as long as they still enjoy listening to them. So tip number 4 is find the right people for feedback. If you're a musician or a writer, find yourself a network of other musicians and writers. It doesn't have to be hundreds of them, but finding a network of people that you can collaborate with or ask for feedback is really valuable. Don't just ask your mum, because you know what your mum's going to say. Wow, that's lovely, Timmy. That's a really nice song. Well done. Do you have any changes or suggestions? No, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Well done. Unless your mum is a musician or a writer herself, that might change things. But in general, close friends or family will just say, yeah, it's great, we love it. They may not be able to offer you any proper critical feedback. Whereas if you have a network of musicians, you can ask them for feedback and they can still be nice about it, but they can be more constructive and they're probably able to give more suggestions that could improve your work. And feedback of that nature is far more valuable than people just saying that they liked it. So it's really helpful to find yourself a network of musicians and writers, and it's usually not too difficult because they're probably looking to network as well. And tip number 5 is listening to others' music. You're probably doing this already, but finding really great music that you love will really inspire you and give you the motivation to try and write really great music for yourself. Just go to the Rolling Stones magazine and look at their top 500 songs of all time. Obviously that's a subjective list, but you will find lots of wonderfully written songs for you to break down. Also, have a look around into genres that you wouldn't usually listen to. If I'm honest, I find myself listening to the same artists I love over and over because I just adore their music. But just dipping into other stuff occasionally or sticking on a random playlist can actually introduce you to stuff that you would have never discovered otherwise. And a bonus tip, listen to Billy Joel. That's just a point in itself. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want more tips when it comes to songwriting, please consider subscribing, and the next video to watch will pop up now. So I'll see you there.
I could pick up the pieces of my heart and put them back up on the shelf. I could kick into motion a